So which account would this be? Is your citizen?
Yeah, that's bond tracking number, or the what's the other thing they call it? It'll come to me. Yes.
Do you sell these packages? Do you have a package that deals with these loans?
Yeah, the student loan package is specific in there, and it explains it all.
All different loans and bills and things like that?
No, I mean, again, if you are in, say, someone was asking me about credit card debt, would this apply to credit card debt? If that credit card debt was a result of you going out and, living high off the hog, then no, it has to be something that you can point to and claim this is a right, a benefit to me, a benefit to my society, and it's acknowledged by the government of Canada here. When you have all of those, then yes, you can. And if you had your mortgage paid off, any orders that came at you by the government or by the courts, your education was all paid for, at what point do you start saying, okay, that's pretty cool, I'm willing to work now and I don't expect it all given to me? I think that's huge to get to the point where we just recognize we don't have to pay the banks 3 times over for our house. We can discharge it right off the bat and do it immediately.
Simply by that understanding?
Well, it's the claim of right. You want to get to a point where you have a perfected claim of right. That's going to be the house that you want to build. A notice of understanding and intent, that's the foundation you build before you try building your house, because as Jesus said, you don't build on sand. It'll fall.
Do you need passports?
I don't know. Whether or not, it depends. If you go to some countries, they are going to be operating from a perspective where if you don't have one, you're going to be hooped. The question is not, do you need a passport? The question is, do you have to go through the government to get a passport? That would be a better question. You can craft your own passport. Who says you can't? Who gives you the passport you have if not your representatives? The power that they have to create these passports is only the power that you originally gave them. It's a matter of whether or not that's going to be accepted by the country you're going to. Historically, letters of invitation, a family Bible, has always been suitable for passing through, and getting back in the country as a free man, no one can stop you. And they can't stop you from leaving. It's a matter of whether or not you can get into another country and whether or not they'll recognize your passport.
Well, the common law country would be okay.
And because you've got the power within the Commonwealth anyways to serve notice of understanding and intent, claim of right, and bind them just as well. If you're a free man on the land in the Commonwealth, who says you can't bring that status anywhere?
Who is part of the Commonwealth? What countries?
New Zealand, Australia, there's Barbados, Jamaica, there's a whack of them.
Anywhere they have a lieutenant governor or governor general.
Yes.
Okay, so the states wouldn't be part of that?
No.
Don't have a governor general there.
No, that's what I figured.
But they do have common law, and a lot of the remedy that I talk about is available to people down there, and they certainly have a bond tracking number on their birth certificate.
So if you're saying that the bond is producing money every year, what would you estimate would be the value of that on an annual basis? Has anyone calculated that out?
What was looked at, from what I understand, someone did a study on this to try to figure exactly that out. And what they found was that based on one birth, the value of the treasury increased by about $1.2 million. Now, one second.
That's over a lifetime? Or?
No, because that's just at birth. Essentially, what supports the bond is their belief that you will be taxable later. So anything that increases their rate to tax you is going to up the value of that bond. When you get a social insurance number, they can increase the value. If you graduate from high school, it increases in value. If you become a doctor, it increases in value. For a doctor, that bond might be worth $50 million, and it might be generating $5 a year. What it does basically boil down to is your ability to be taxed, and it represents your ownership in the country. So if you were to look at the value of the country and then divide it by the number of people, then you would have a very good rough estimate as to the value of that bond, the fundamental on the market value of what that bond is. Divide that by what you could get, say 4%, and you're looking at pretty much what it's generating. But it's generating, dude, every one of your bonds is generating at least $1 million a year.
So where's all the money going?
Dude, look around. Look around. Look around. It's going into the politicians' banks. It's going into their lifestyle. It's going into their roads, their system, their bureaucracy. I mean, they're looking at... Look at how much it takes to get you to beg for a license. That's what it's going into. And if you stop feeding this thing, if you start taking control of it, you stop feeding the beast that you're complaining about anyways. And that's the best way to fight it. Just stop feeding it.
Stats Canada does the calculations.
For what?
Everything.
For the number of people in here, and it'd be easy enough. I mean, from what I understand, we're worth a couple of trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars, really. And that's just what we have easily accessible within the next 10 or 20 years. If you look at the full thing, I mean, we're totally rich. We're immeasurably rich.
Can you go up to
Yes, I can.
an office and find out the present value of that bond?
This has been something that a lot of people have been trying to do. And yet, the best way to do it is with a notice of understanding and intent and a claim of right, and you apply the value to it.
Yeah, if they don't respond.
Why not?
Can you take control of the administration of that account?
Absolutely.
How so?
It's only your representative doing it. It's your fiduciary agent doing it, your fiduciary trustee. They're acting with power of attorney. You fire them, and you lay claim. The problem is this. People put money into it, essentially. They want a safe place to put their money. They don't really care about the interest. They just want to know it's going to be there in 10 years. This is a safe place to put it because you're not personally in charge of your own account. It's kind of like you have a mat and they're all tied together. Because it's working as one cohesive thing, it's a safe place because one will support all the others. You cut yours off, you might have claim to that, but then they might say, okay, well, I want my money back now.
Right, okay.
You've used the word trustee. Would you mind explaining? I think I understand it already because I've heard it explained before, but because you've used that word 2 or 3 times, could you maybe explain to them that the act of the trust, they've actually set this up as a trust structure?
Yeah, it's a trustee account. A trustee essentially has the highest duty of care, either in law or equity, to the person that they're acting for. They are given something of value, either something in financial or a right. It can be either something tangible or intangible, but they're holding it, ensuring that when you come back and say, here, give that back to me, it will be in the exact same state that when they gave it to you. This is why when you have to apply, say, for you want to upgrade your house, you got to go get a permit to do additions. The reason is you registered this property with someone who is now a trustee, and you put them in a position where they have to ensure that they can give it back to you in the state that you gave it to them. It's like if you're a trustee of, say, someone's record collection. Yes, you can listen to it. Yes, you can use it like it's your own. But one scratch on it, you're liable. So you're better off really just putting it aside and not even touching it. You do have the right to access it and use something as your own, but when someone comes and asks for it back, it better be there ready for them. This is the trustee relationship. Am I close?
Yeah, just the trust is actually you. You are part of that trust. Like the trust has 3 separate entities to it: the trustee, the benefactor, and
Yeah. And it can actually only have 2. A trust you can have a trustee and a trustor, where one is just trusting another. Hi, I'm leaving for a bit. Here's my kitten. Feed him, take care of him, kind of thing.
Hey Rob, we were talking last week, and I wouldn't mind getting this on tape. How it works that you can drive a car without a license, ownership. And,
First, stop using the word drive. The term drive implies that you are engaging in commerce on the highway. You aren't engaging in commerce on the highway unless you're a taxi driver or you're engaging in carriage or you're delivering pizzas or something. Otherwise, you're just traveling. Well, the trick that they get you to do is, again, you voluntarily register your automobile. It now becomes a motor vehicle, and now you can be a driver and you can make money on the highway. But you don't have to do that. If your automobile is not registered and you, again, do it under a claim of right, do that with a foundation of a notice of understanding and intent, and your automobile is not a motor vehicle, it's not covered under the Motor Vehicle Act, and therefore you're not bound by that Motor Vehicle Act, and you're not a driver. Historically, a driver was engaging in commerce.
What if your vehicle is registered? Is there any way to unregister?
Yes. Anyone?